Right. Good. So I can hear you well as well. That sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, guys, so as I'm setting up, it is awesome that I have such a opportunity for the virtual travel. Never been in Singapore, so first time.
Okay, I can see your screen, so you can continue right away.
Okay, guys, so starting with the topic of my session, it will be more actually tell of the type of the presentation. I will be speaking about the governance and basically what I learned while working with the Power Platform governance and how to organize that for the citizen developers and the IT to change the mindset, to change the language, and to find the benefits in all of that. But before jumping to the session, a couple of words about me. I didn't start it with the IT. I didn't finish the IT studies. It was a little bit of the luck. So if you want, you can join the IT. And I think that you are here in the bootcamp, the Power Platform bootcamp. It is a perfect opportunity for you to start this IT journey. Because with these low-code tools, you don't have to know everything from the IT world. We never know everything, but with the Power Platform, it is much, much easier. So I started almost 12 years ago. Never with the technical skills, so always using a low-code type of the solutions like the Nintex K2, workflows, InfoPath, and that kind of the stuff. And of course, Power Platform. And when I meet the Power Platform, it was quite some time ago. I really fell in love in that, and there is the awesome, awesome community. So worth to join this world. Except that I am still active breaker, and I'm dancing. I'm looking forward to the Paris 2024, where it will be the first time at the Olympics. So this is a year for me, which is quite important. Next to that, I am also the MVP from the last year, and hopefully it will continue. So let's start with the agenda. I will try start with the perspective of the IT and the citizen developers. Then I will tell you what are my proposals or what are my thoughts to change the perspective of these both worlds. Next, I will present to you the citizen developers framework. This is the idea which I came through when I was working with the governance, and this is a set of the three pillars: regulations, onboarding, and path to excellence. And of course, we'll try to wrap up everything. Guys, I can see the chat, so if you will have any type of the queries, I will address that right away, or I will answer them at the end of the session. No problem at all. Okay, so starting with the citizen developers. The citizen development in general, it is a creation of the business application and the features by the employees who use them. So with that in mind, the citizen developer is basically a business user, a component employee who is creating the solution, and this is all around the business processes, and it should resolve day-to-day challenges or some issues. Because we need to start with a proper terminology. And I ask myself a question: when the citizen developers are born, or why they are born? So if you are in this situation that there is a challenge in your organization, that you cannot do something, or there is a lack of the tools, and you sometimes know that there is something which could work for you, or there is a big need in the team or the organization, or basically the IT is too slow, because there is a plenty of the situations that we are going to the IT and we are asking the question, and they don't have the time. Yesterday during the bootcamp, but the Polish chapter, I heard from one of the speakers that according to the research, the IT is taking around 2 up to the 3 years to develop and deliver a new solution. So it is quite slow. And this is why also a lot of people are taking, let's say, things into their own hands. And they are developing the solution which is required for them at this moment. Not wait a half a year, or even longer, but they need to work with it right now. I hope you can resemble with that reasons. So these are like the three, at least four elements when the citizen developers are born. There can be much more such a types of the factors which are making you start to think about the citizen development and starting really the citizen development. Okay, on the opposite side, we have, on the other hand, the information technology, so the IT. And this is like the definition of the department which is maintaining the organization technology related assets. So like hardware, software systems, policies, procedures. And this is including, but not limiting to the administration of the company emails, business intelligence, enterprise resource planning, network setup, data backup, and all of this neat stuff. And the last sentence which I found in this definition is quite important for me. The group also provides employees with the day-to-day technology support to ensure the technology-related problems do not interfere with their work. So this is the statement that the IT should provide the support. And with the like a classic thinking, the IT will be focusing on resolving your issues. So there will be the ticketing system, and that ticketing system will be responsible to follow the SLA rules, the ITIL, so the set of the best practices, how to resolve your issues. But at the same time, it is like giving the enough time for the IT to respond to a huge traffic of the needs. And we need to be aware that it is not only a bad wheel inside of the IT, or maybe there isn't a bad wheel inside of the IT, but there are the huge queues of the tickets of the things which we need to be done. Because in a lot of companies, IT are not a huge department. So guys, don't be mad at the IT all of the time. And for the IT, I would say that there are the key major functions: governance, infrastructure, and functionality. And with this governance, we can think about the rigid rules, or like, all of the things which IT is blocking for us, that we cannot use the, I don't know, WhatsApp at the companies, or we cannot use some websites. So that kind of the stuff came to our minds. But I will try to prove you during this session that this is not the thing in the case of the context of the Power Platform and the citizen developers. Okay, maybe not. Let's not waste time here for the infrastructure and the functionality, but let's move to the perspective of the IT if they are thinking initially about the citizen developers, because we need to be aware that, as I was saying, IT have a lot of responsibilities, and departments of the IT are not huge in many organizations. And if they will hear first time about the citizen developers, they will think that this is the extra work for them to do. And with that in mind, they are finding the reasons why it is not good. And most likely, a lot of people will start with the gaps in the security. They will say that Power Platform is not secure, and this is not good because it can lead to data leaks, and this is in general bad. Next to that, we have also the magical word used by a lot of managers: shadow IT. Not sure if you guys heard about it. So the shadow IT is, in some sense, a weird thing, because in many organizations, if you didn't told IT that you are doing something, then you are doing the shadow IT. But this term, in some sense, is huge, just huge, because with the using the shadow IT, it means that if you are using Monday.com while working with your colleagues, and the Monday.com is not officially in the IT portfolio, it is not a part of the IT strategy, then you are already doing the shadow IT. So this is not only limited to the Power Platform, and you need to be aware about that. The next reason, the possibility to lose the crucial data. or to store the crucial data without a proper backup and setup. And here I would add as the example, the case which we had with the Microsoft Forms. Though it is not the Power Platform, but Forms are really useful. Some people were storing a lot of information about the COVID data, about the personal information, just only in the Microsoft form. And the employee who was owning that form left the company. And after some time, there was no way to extract the data. So if one person in the team wouldn't do the backup by the accident, all of the data would be lost. And this is proving that IT is not always wrong, let's say, or thinking about the bad stuff. Sometimes speaking with the IT and looking from the IT perspective is really good. And the last bit on which I will be focusing today is the lack of the governance. So initially, when the IT is thinking about the citizen developers, they think about the default environment and the option that you can do everything in it. And some people are just getting wild with thinking that they don't have the governance around that. So with that, we have these 4 things which can trigger a lot of people in the IT. And in some organizations, this might look like this. There is on one side the IT, on the other side the citizen developers. And there is a wall or like a fence in this case between them. And both of these parties are having a hard time with the communication. So what we can do, I would recommend to start changing the perspective, to change the language which we are using, to change the mindset, to start to think about the benefits and start to speak about the benefits or with the language of the benefits. Let's start to think what we can get, what we can gain for both of the parties if we are thinking about the citizen developers. So imagine the situation that there is a business critical process about which the IT was in some sense aware because it was in the value chain, but it was never addressed that there is a process which is already in the organization. And the citizen developer created a working solution with the business critical process on the line. So if the citizen developer already have such a solution, IT can just step in and slightly help with adding the IT perspective and covers this business critical process. Next, if this is not good, if we are speaking with the citizen developers, there was in the past that the IT to implement anything, to add anything, was always asked and challenged by the decision makers why you want to do something. So if you wanted to improve the security, there was always a cost connected with that, some kind of the licenses. And you as the IT, you know that it is required for your infrastructure to work better and to be safe from any type of the threats. But there was always a process of the justification and challenging why we need that. With the citizen developers on the line, that part don't exist in some sense. Because if the citizen developer is creating and already working with the process, they are proving that there is a business value in what they created. So as the IT, you should be even happy that you don't need to find the justification, but you have that justification in the as the citizen developer process or the solution. And this is great because the decision makers see the value and they know in what they are investing. They see that. So as soon as people can see the things, they understand that much better. And I think this is a huge thing which any person should consider while doing the citizen development, that it is providing the business value straight away. And the last bit, but not least, it is the amount of the time which we need to invest as the IT. If we will slightly only help a citizen developer and we will guide them a little bit, show them the direction, it might be that they will skill in their work much quicker, and they will be a valuable resource in the company because they will become a champions. They will promote the IT and they will show that the IT is helping them, providing the support, providing the guidance. They will change the perspective of the IT in the organization. It will be not any longer this IT guy who is asking you to turn on and turn off the PC or reset the PC. They will be providing the value thanks also to the citizen developers. So I hope with all of that said, you see the value in changing the perspective, in starting to speak in the language of the benefits. And this goes for the citizen developers and the IT, for both of these sides. We need to remember about that. And now, after changing the perspective, let's read this definition. Citizen development, the creation of the business applications and the features by the employees who use them in an opportunity for business users to stretch beyond their day-to-day job. So this is like the opportunity for people to do a little bit more. In many cases, we just hate the repetitive task. And if we can do something more, that can be attractive for a lot of people. Okay, let's go further. Activities with the innovative way to improve their own business process. Citizen development is not a small group of developers across the company. Creating an unmanageable amount of the shadow IT applications. So this is not a small group, and they are not doing the shadow IT. When done properly, it is mutual beneficial partnership, win-win for both of the sides. So with this changing of the perspective, if we'll start to phrase the citizen development in a little bit different way, we are changing the optics of this whole situation. And this is like, a stepping stones for you guys if you are in the shoes of the citizen developers. So even if you are not the decision maker or some kind of the manager, and you are thinking about the citizen development, this changing of the perspective, I think it will help you. Even on the smallest level, if you will be challenged or if you will be asked by the IT with changing of the perspective, it should help you anyway. Okay, and now let's go to the citizen development framework. So it is a set of the regulations and the activities around the development and the developers. And the purpose of that is, of course, to apply the regulations to prevent the shadow IT. So to provide some kind of the guidelines and understanding, the common understanding for all of the parties, what is done and when, and sometimes maybe why. Okay, to ensure the quality of the created applications, because with the education and working with the users, we can increase the quality of the users. So we can resolve some issues with the security or prevent the data loss. Okay, increase the visibility of the created applications and enable users to reuse applications. It is like that because in many cases, if you are working in a huge organization, if you are just starting, if you are in a small team, you created a brilliant solution, it is working for your team. Why you will not ask yourself a question if that can work also for the other teams? Because if in your company there is a lot of entities, a lot of sub-companies, the other divisions, or maybe the other continents, then there is a high chance that a team which is similar to yours is having a similar process. And if you are just providing the value for your team, it is good. Don't get me wrong, it is really great. But if you will provide the value for the whole company, for all of the teams, for instance, from your department, for the finance or the R&D, and you know that they are using your solution, that would make me proud. Guys, this is awesome because you can impact not only your team, but you can impact much more. You can impact the whole company, and then you will get the recognition. So like I said, even if you are not a decision maker or the manager and you are just starting, look for others with the same need. If you created the solution, try to connect with the other guys from your department, because maybe they will love what you created and you will become a superhero of your team and not only your team. So keep that in mind, guys. Okay, we have the elements. Like I was saying, the onboarding. So I thought about this as let's start to do it in the right way. Why? Because we have the onboarding of people which will be as citizen developers, and we need to have in mind also the people which are already. There is a plenty situations where the citizen development in your organization is already on, and you might be not aware about this. So if you are in the IT and you are the administrator, I would strongly encourage you guys to install the Center of the Excellence. If you're hearing that first time, Google that, the Center of the Excellence. This is a set of the tools like a package, a solution, which is helping you to monitor, to see what is happening in your tenant from the perspective of the Power Platform. There can be a case that you are not aware, but there is thousands of the flows of the applications which are already created. But I will speak about that too in a little bit later part. Then we have the path to the excellence. This is like I was saying that we can think about the citizen developers as the champions, and we can help them to become the champions. As the IT, we can provide for them the guidance, how to learn, where to learn. We can create some kind of the certificates or the medals or something similar. Then with that, we know that the quality of the solutions which is created will increase. So the education, teaching people how to do the things like today during the bootcamp is really, really important. And last but not least, the regulations. This is super important because it is like a floor for all of the activities which will happen. And as I was saying, oh, thanks, Rene, for posting the Center of the Excellence reference. This is from the Center of the Excellence, one of the reports, and this is showing the amount of the Power Automate cloud flows created in the organization. And if I would go here around the 2021, the organization didn't have the Center of the Excellence installed. So looking into the left side, you can see how many flows was created without anybody knowing about this. So people were active, people were creating the automatizations without the IT, without the guidance, without the regulations. And that can be in your organization too. And what is also important, and this is still about thinking if we are looking through a various perspective. If you have the Center of the Excellence, you are getting a new arguments for the decision makers, for your managers, that the movement of the citizen developers is on. And we cannot decline that, because a lot of people are trying to decline that it is not important, it is not happening. But with the Center of the Excellence, you have the proofs, you have the arguments, you have the numbers, and the numbers are really powerful in the business world. So this is the next thing why you should think about the Center of the Excellence. Okay, and with the work which we did, we started with the regulations, like I was saying, and the base for our regulations is the application classification. It is super important to make it clear for the whole organization, to explain them what is a personal productivity. So on the bottom of this area, this is all of the solutions which are created for you, for your team only. These are, let's say, small solutions, and they are most likely living inside of the not managed by the IT environments. the default one, the personal productivity or the personal development. And maybe I will pause here for a second. If you are starting your journey, you should check out the personal development environment, because that will give you your personal sandbox, your personal playground, in which it is like your own container for all of the applications, solutions. You cannot share the resources with the others, but there is a huge benefit in that. It is like your location where you are not adding the test development applications, so you are not making a mess in the default. You are not making a bigger mess because everyone are adding everything to the default, and sometimes it is just madness. But in the personal development, you have your own dedicated locations where you can learn without affecting others, and you have access to a premium features. So look for the personal development. If you can, enable that for yourself in your organizations, and you will get the access to a premium features. Why it is important? Because you can test the premium features, and if your solution requires a premium features, you can create a proof of concept, so the first version of your application, and you can show that to the IT and decision makers that there is a solution which is working, which is fitting the needs, which is resolving the challenges, but it requires the additional license. So with proving that something is working, it is much easier to discuss about the budget. Because if you will go to the IT or the decision makers and you will say that you need the license, and this license requires the additional fee, then a lot of people will say no. So it is quite easy with the personal development environment to go around that, to show that something is already working, and you need to take that to a next level with the additional license. I would really recommend for you guys to try out the personal development environments. Okay, let's go back to the topic. We have the importance. So this is something important for the organization, and it is in some sense certified by the IT. It is going through something which is called the application lifecycle management. So then it is IT term in some sense, but it is like, let's focus on the life cycle. So this is all of the bits which are happening with the application, with the solution, with the automatization, to make from the development, from the idea to the testing and move it to the production. So under the application lifecycle management, you have just basically all of the steps which you need to do for the things to work, but in, let's say, more structured and a little bit controlled way. And the last one, the critical, so the ones which don't need to be only certified by the IT, but they are owned by the IT, because IT is supporting the solution, and it is ensuring that the solution will be available for all of the users at the time when it needs to be. And this is really important, because even if you will create the awesome solution and it is business critical, sometimes with your own power in your hands, it might be not enough. So for the other users, for the whole company to fully benefit from your solution and what you created, it is good for the IT to take the ownership, because it is no longer on your shoulders. So if you will create something great and it is classified as the critical, IT will help you with maintenance of that. And this is huge benefit. But why we created such a bit? We created the basic structure, the classification, to follow up a simple process. So what is happening here? The register business case and add the classification. It is like a first stage which we are encouraging our users to do, to perform. We have something what is called a business request log. Every citizen developer can use this log to inform the IT that they are planning to develop something. And we, as the IT, will do the review, will provide the recommendation for the architecture, for the security, and sometimes we'll work with that user to start the development. So we will help you with all of the things connected with the data. How many people were struggling to save the data to SharePoint, to Dataverse? They didn't know how to use the filters, They didn't know how to use we function or the patch function. And sometimes, even if you will start the citizen development, you can you don't need to know everything. And with a proper guidance and hints, you will resolve the challenges. But if you are Googling something for a couple of hours and looking for the answers, and there is nobody who can help you in some sense, of course, the community is great, and you should always check the community if you have any type of the problems. But with a little bit of the support from the IT, some of the challenges can be either mitigated or resolved really quickly, and removing this frustration from the creation of what is really important for you, from building the business value. And that is why we ask people to register these business cases, so we are aware what is happening. We are not preventing the task, and we are supporting where we know that it is required because it is complicated or it is important for the business. Okay, so I already started to speak about the second step, the design development according to the classification. So like I was saying, in some cases, the design, the development is supported. Sometimes it is done by the IT because the solution is so complex that while building the solution, we are teaching the citizen developers how it is done. We are giving them the basics of how to approach some elements. So sometimes the citizen developer don't start the development, but it is they are learning during the development. And the last step in our short process is what we are using as the reusability and the visualization aspect of our portfolio. So we created something what we are calling the application portfolio, where all of the users from the whole organization can see what type of the great bits you created so far. So this is the location where we are showcasing, in some sense, solutions, because there can be a case that even a small element of your solution will give to other people so much value that they want to take only the small solution, small elements of your solution, and that will be enough for them to satisfy, to resolve their challenges. Okay, and let's jump a little bit deeper into all of these elements. So first of all, the registration of the business case. We provided such a slide to explain people what is done and what is expected from them. And this is why I think the governance, the regulations, they are not a constraints. They are the information, they are the guidance. They will resolve some problems. With proper explanation of some topics, we are helping citizen developers and the IT to work in a better way, because if you don't know what to do or where to go, then it is creating a frustration, and sometimes you are doing the moves or you are going to the directions which are incorrect. And I'm a strong believer that the regulations can mitigate that. They are not only the constraint, they should help people to work in your organizations. Okay, we are filling the form. We are providing a couple of the basic details. It is like 1, 2, 3, 9 elements, and you can also add the attachments. And it is taking 5 minutes to add such a business case. And with that, as the IT, we will provide the classification. We'll confirm the classification. Everyone knows what is connected with this classification. So even if you will set up a really high level business critical classification, we know that it is like important, for instance, and we'll change that and we'll work according to that. And if your request is checked, it is initially classified, then also as a part of the regulations, we are providing something what is called a solution delivery process. And if you are a normal user, it would be good for your organization to have something like that, because it is giving you, again, this orientation points, how to move, what you can expect, because sometimes we need to work with the expectations of the users. People are thinking about something, they cannot, let's say, explain that correctly, and they have the expectations at some point. And this is really important because it is like roadmap of what will happen for you. So starting from the initial evaluation, then you will go to the discovery workshop. Then IT is doing the technical assessment. And finally, there is a business review, because let's be blunt, sometimes we need to have the extra budget to deliver something. And this is really important also for the decision makers. If they see the process, they know what they can expect, because we should mitigate the moments where people are getting stressed on the both sides. And of course, the explanation of the development and a couple of the elements of the application life cycle. So I would encourage all of the architects, decision makers, managers, which are on this call, to think how to guide the users and how to set this type of the rules where both of the parties, all of the parties know what will happen. Okay, and I mentioned a little bit about the Center of the Excellence. And across my work, I decide that the archiving is something what is not, let's say, done in the way which is corresponding with what we want to do. So we are using the Center of the Excellence, but we are providing the extensions to the Center of the Excellence. We change the way how the archiving process is working. So starting with the identification, we are checking for the not used resources, for the unfunded resources, and we are sending the notification to the owners, or looking for the owners, because sometimes there can be just orphan solution, and we are looking for the owners. We are looking for the decisions of the owners if you want to keep or delete the solution, because we are aiming to increase the quality of the resources. And this is beneficial for the IT and the citizen developers, because with these checks of the resources, you are also getting this type of the feedback, and it is like a reminder. Maybe you started the development, but you left that for the other activities, and this type of the notification can be even like, a little bit of the push to finish the work. Okay, and finally, acting. So if it is not used solution, if it should be deleted, we are removing that. We are increasing the quality of the resources in our organization. Next, I was also telling you about that. So the application portfolio, this is like a showcase. This is a place where you can show off a little bit, where you can explain how your solution was working. And we are encouraging people to provide the information about the key features, to provide a couple of the screenshots, to explain what was done, so that others can go through that, and maybe they will think about the, documents upload, or how you created the audit log, because for many solutions that can be a key features. And this is the location where I want for the whole organization to go to check before developing their own solution, maybe even to get a little bit inspired. And for me, the application portfolio is really powerful, because it is also showing the managers how many tools we created. We didn't buy that solutions. We are not paying for that. This is not the extra cost for the organization. And this is a proof of the huge savings done by the citizen developers. And the application portfolio, again, it is a simple list. There is nothing complicated, only a little bit of the data and one page of a SharePoint where you can explain your solution. Okay, cautious about the time. I should still be on time with the onboarding. You need to remember about the new and the existing makers. And the existing makers sometimes are really more important, because they are already working. So you need to know how to speak with them. And for that, we are organizing the meetings, the citizen developers meetings, where we are working with the people, explaining what is happening in the framework, what we are planning to do. There is a moment for the people to showcase their own solutions, to encourage others to join the world. We have also the power hours, where we are teaching the people how to use the Power Apps, Power Automate, really from zero to hero. Then we have also the Ask Me Anything. So if you have any type of the troubles, you can wait for this meeting and you can ask the question, and maybe the others will get the feedback from you. And of course, community, which is really powerful. We organized that initially in Yammer, but that didn't work for people, and we moved to teams. And as the onboarding, we are also trying to provide a hub, a location with all of the details. So this is a Citizen Developers Hub. We are sharing here all of the documents, all of the materials, all of the recordings. So it is like one place where you can go and from which you can learn. And if I'm speaking about learning, we are also created with the Power Platform, the learning management solution, which is containing a quizzes, a materials, where you can gain the knowledge from basic to like a master in our organization. And this is a guided experience. So you can see here a little bit of the screenshots that we are utilizing as SharePoint pages, the formatting with the JSON, the materials referrals to the Microsoft Learn and that type of the things. And of course, quizzes in the Power Apps. And this is all done to upskill our resources and like actively building new content so the people can scale their skills. And a quick summary. Please remember about changing the perspective. It is not always a bad thing. Create a vision, even if it is only for yourself. Think what you can do. And then align with others. Look for others on every level in the organization. Communicate on every level. The communication is the key. If you will stop the communication, people will not know what you are doing. And please remember that this is a step-by-step process. This is not the revolution. Maybe sometimes it is, but it is much easier to perform as a step-by-step. So with all of that said, I guess, guys, I am on time. Thank you very much for your attention. I don't see questions in the chat. Maybe somebody is keen to ask something or to speak up. If not, then I guess, thank you very much. I enjoyed the experience. Hopefully I gave you some kind of the ideas how to move forward.